bridge collapsed. The mountain road washed out. All the signs are obscured by fog. Your only directions are detours. Eventually it dawns on you. Sometimes you need to get lost to discover where you're supposed to be. Welcome to Merlin's Barn.
Hello, and welcome once again to Merlin's Barn, broadcasting to you from Fort Blanket, south of the Yukon. Today you have myself.
The April Fool.
Which I guess is Tasia.
Yeah.
And Matt. Nicole's not here tonight. She's on a boat with her brother.
Off exploring, the Caribbean?
Yep.
Okay, so.
On her way to St. Martin, the weirdly misplaced Dutch colony in the Caribbean.
I think that was the result of, all of the Europeans deciding that we have to have something in this area?
Yeah.
Probably.
I don't know.
Sugar cane.
I don't go down there. It's warm.
Well, that was her comment today. We didn't walk around very much. It's too hot.
That's why I don't go there. I had a girlfriend years ago from the Dominican Republic who had this idea that I was going to go down there to resorts and sit on beaches and wear Hawaiian shirts. And I remember looking at her going, "Do you want to see me cry? I will cry."
Did they make a Hawaiian shirt tweed vest?
I don't know.
Having
said that, somebody might think of it or something like that. But yeah, so I just, that might be why the relationship didn't last too long, because she was resorts and I'm sitting there going, too far south of the Mason-Dixon, Maryland's far enough. I don't want to go any further south.
Nicole's already said she does another cruise. It needs to be like Alaska or Greenland or Iceland or something.
See, I would do that.
Cruise to Canada.
I would do that in a heartbeat if we had any money whatsoever.
Halloween cruise to Canada.
Can't take off from work. We'll lose job. All right,
yes, we have a lot of really big sponsors come through really quickly.
Yes,
Please,
yes.
I just want to take a Halloween cruise to Canada.
Yeah, we would need a big sponsor. That would be cool, though.
That's all I
What's
want.
particular about Halloween Canada?
I don't know.
It's a Halloween Disney cruise.
Oh. And it's Canadian destinations?
I believe it's either Canada or Alaska you can go to.
Is it like all the dog name places, like Labrador and Newfoundland?
Yes. Yes, I would be absolutely fine with going to any of those because they're north.
I think I got the causation backwards there.
Yeah.
I just want an excuse to wear Halloween costumes all day on an extravagant ship while going to Canada or Alaska with my person.
I'm here for that.
Other than the extravagant ship part, we could probably arrange it. I'm sure I can find a rowboat.
There's going to be
It'll be cold.
So there'll be a project at some point. Will be just like a rowboat with like us sitting on it and a little Canadian flag up in the prow.
Dress as Lydia and Beetlejuice again.
Oh, you need to get a lot of mileage out of that costume now.
Oh God.
I went to a convention this past weekend as Lydia. I was the darling of the convention. Everyone wanted my picture because I was cartoon Lydia.
I was going to say, which Lydia were you in?
I was cartoon Lydia.
That's great.
It was great. I'll show you pictures.
Yeah, we'll have to put we'll put those up on the Instagram too.
The hearses. I had a
What's that?
photo shoot with hearses.
What?
Hearses.
Hearses. Oh, okay.
Not horses.
We might have to rearrange the way the room laid out. For those who don't know, Merlin is half deaf, and
I have audio processing issues.
And Tasha is to my right on the side where I'm deaf and can't see either. So I might have to move at some point.
You become the central figure.
Maybe, or I just move over where Matt is, or something like that. I don't know. We might do that someday.
You know what? Putting you in the corner would work.
That would be easy. We just turn the computer 180 degrees.
Yeah, that would be.
65 or so.
I'm here now. I've been here
We're
forever.
putting Merlin in the corner.
That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight.
We have the spotlight in the corner too for you. We're good to
We
go.
do.
Losing my religion. I don't know where I put it. I think it rolled under this. I can't
Like
find
a
it.
Rolling Stone. That was the wrong tune. Oh no.
Complete wrong tune. All right.
Bad.
We have
So,
a close proxy to religion over here. We have fortune cookies.
Miss Fortune Cookies. Matt, why don't you start us today?
All right. I'm sorry if that sounded terrible.
No, I don't think that was as bad as the crinkling, which I never.
Oh, never crinkle.
Oh my God, that was so bad.
It's a fortune. It's actually a fortune.
It's a fortune?
Holy crow!
This month, you'll make significant progress towards your goals.
Nice.
Sweet.
I'm glad we did this tonight and not yesterday.
Oh dear.
Did you have to? Oh, yeah, you're right. That would have sucked.
I have a whole month now versus only a few hours if we did this yesterday.
Which folks, this one, we rarely say when we're recording, but this one is actually being recorded on April 1st. It is not an April Fool's episode, however.
But I am the April Fool.
Which is, why we got the April
I'm
Fool there.
always full.
Tasha, what's your misfortune?
Kindness is a gift that never goes out of style. That's not a fortune.
No,
that's just words.
That's the little thing they have like in the margin of those diaries you can buy like in CVS or something.
Yeah. I mean, like,
hopeful quotes in the margins.
this
Live,
is
laugh,
something I would
love.
tell my kids at work.
I wouldn't tell it to my kids. I don't want them to turn out like that.
Look, when you've had to break up enough fights between 6-year-olds,
Come on, it's character building. Teach them how to make prison shivs.
I'd rather do that because they keep going to me crying and complaining about each other. Get over it.
You're replaceable.
That reminds me, I need to grab my Nerf gun from my old office and give it to you to take into the library.
Sweet! I need more Nerf rounds. By the way, if any sponsor wants to send me a huge amount of Nerf rounds, the kids have gone through about 200 and I keep forgetting to order more.
I should have some for you. So.
Yes, we have Nerf rounds.
We
So
need to work stories at some point because we're all just...
my cookie is, let's see what I got.
We have Nerf stories from Pakistan.
They didn't even spell it right.
What?
What?
You have
Is this-
misspelled fortune?
Is this? Oh shit!
Is it like misspelled, like British misspelled, or like
It's on the floor.
genuinely
Do you need
misspelled?
help?
Now it's upside down. What do I do? Oh wait. Okay.
Stand on your head.
There we go. It says advise can come in all forms.
Advise?
Not advice. Advise can come in all forms.
Nope, that's not even like a British spelling. That is just misspelled.
That's
That's
just
just-
wrong. So I did get a good one earlier. I don't know what pocket I put it in. Oh, here we go.
This is backup fortune.
Which really actually wasn't. I mean, we just laughed at it because. So my one after dinner was, "You'll be the captain of your own ship." It's either going to be the freaking ship Lollipop or I'm going on a 3-hour tour somewhere.
To Labrador, we went over this.
This is true. Oh my gosh. Now we know what our rowboat's name is. It's Lollipop.
I hate that song so much. I
we
had a copy of The Good Ship Lollipop as performed by the Betty Boop Girl.
Oh my god.
And I took it and put it in the corner of the attic of one of the barns at my farm because my belief to this date is nobody should have to listen to that. I believe it should be under some Geneva Convention. I mean, I know waterboarding is not acceptable, and this is worse than waterboarding.
Don't want to hear the sample from when Chumbawamba?
No. That, and I don't know if we can actually legally do that or not.
Well, I wasn't going to subject everyone else to it. I was going to save it for afterwards.
For afterwards for me, yes,
That'll
we
be
can
fine.
subject.
But look, now we have our rowboat Lollipop, and we have our car Jelly Bean.
No, Jelly Bean the car is cute.
I love Jelly
The
Bean.
Jelly Bean is a 2009 Nissan Rogue that belonged to our friend Frank Buck, who founded the World War II American Experience Museum with his family. And his son and wife sold it to us when we needed a car. And I never thought I would love a little Jelly Bean car, but it looks like a Jelly Bean, and it is such fun to just zoom around in, and we absolutely adore it. So we just named it Jelly Bean.
No one knows what color it is, and on the plus side, I no longer feel like a bug about to be squashed whenever I go driving.
It's violet mauve. All right, so
Color
our
face.
episode this evening is going to cover Airborne Beavers, Paratroop Beavers, Para Beavers, as the Popular Mechanics article was titled back in the 1950s. And you'll have the three of us taking you through the story of how Idaho decided to to create airborne beavers and drop them into another part of the state.
Not presenting Matt's Czech Beavers.
Yes, so this came up in social media as a meme just recently, like a few weeks, maybe a month or so back. So this is modern, positive beaver story here. Yes, in the Czech Republic, this article is only dated from the 31st of January of this year. That's 2025, just in case this episode doesn't come out until like next year. Apparently, there was an area in the Vltava River Basin that had been a military base, and at the time the soldiers had dug a bypass gully to kind of drain away the area so that they could, use it for their military operations. And the Landscape Area Administration was working with the military, for the military forest management, to build dams to restore this river basin in this area. And they were sorting it out, and they were going through approval process and doing the planning, and they had a 30 million crown project, that's 1.3 million US dollars, to have construction equipment, excavators, build these dams. And somebody took a look, and basically overnight, a colony of about 8 beavers built the dams.
So when they weren't paying
Dang.
attention, the beavers just came in on their own and built dams?
Yes.
Or did
to
someone
to
place
literally
them?
quote the article, the military forest management and the Vltava River Basin were negotiating with each other to set up the project and address issues regarding ownership of land. The beavers built them to it, saving 30 million Czech crowns. They built the dams without any project documentation and for free.
The beavers on the land.
Yeah, the beavers took care of it.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic.
The environmentalists said it's great. Beavers always know best. The places where they build dams are always chosen just right, better than we design it on paper. Jaroslav Obermajer, head of the Central Bohemian Office of the Czech Nature and Landscape Protection Agency, had that to say. When they weren't looking, busy doing all the bureaucratic paperwork, the beavers just showed up and built the dams that they were talking about building.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
And
The beavers
exactly
beat
where
the
they needed to go.
bureaucracy.
Yep.
There's some nice alliteration there.
I like a good alliteration.
Which I think, beavers building dams where you want them, I think that's kind of
It's kind of the gist of this episode.
it's
Yeah.
what was the basis behind this incredible story.
So we're going to start off. We'll take you back a little bit. So our story once again today is Airborne Beavers, and we're going to start. We're going to back up a little bit because how do we even end up with Airborne Beavers? I mean, what was it?
You throw them out of planes.
Yes.
Do they flap their arms?
Their
Well,
tails!
there is that. We will get to that newspaper
I think I
article in a
saw
bit,
this in
which
a
has
Mario
suggestions.
game.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So World War II and the Airborne. What?
On our denizens, the beaver tails. That's how we get to
I didn't
fly.
even think about that. I'm going to get into World War II Airborne in a second, and one of the uniforms of the Canadians and the British is something called a denizen smock, which has this tail that hangs off of it when not snapped in place that is jokingly referred to as the beaver tail. That most of us tend to either cut them off or pin them up or something like that. I haven't even thought about that. That's totally. I don't even know that's going to make it into the episode. We shall see. So, World War II and the Airborne. Just to give you some background on just why we're throwing things out of planes. World War II saw World War II saw the development of a new type of soldier, the paratrooper. And by the end of the war, many nations had them. Germany, Russia, England, Canada, the United States. Russia was the first to throw men out of planes during maneuvers in 1935. And then I think it was all of the officers who had come up with this idea and were good at it were then killed by Stalin shortly after that in one of his genius purges. Because that's what Stalin did. The Germans developed Fallschirmjägers in the 1930s with very good planning and put them to good initial use in World War II. These airborne soldiers had early success in Norway, France, and Holland. However, in what turned out to be a successful bid to take the island of Crete from the British, the Fallschirmjägers took such heavy losses that they were never used in their intended fashion again. Well, the Germans managed to take Crete. The operation came at a high cost, and the Germans just pulled back on airborne operations overall. The basic concept was highly trained soldiers would jump out of perfectly good aircraft into combat. Well, the Germans were the first to use them. The British soon set up their own airborne, and the U.S. as well. Most history buffs know about the Band of Brothers and the 101st Airborne. Canada followed suit and formed 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion in 1942. For Tasha and I, that's like our other millionth hobby. There were a wide array of airborne units, basically some extra pay, the challenge, the joy of joining an elite force, and the hope of seeing combat faster were all amongst the variety of reasons why men sought to join the airborne ranks. And men were not only dropped into combat, they were brought in by gliders as well. And how did these soldiers receive their supplies behind enemy lines? Again, by airdrop and glider. The gliders, to me, were like, I think I have an issue with heights, and I would rather jump out of a plane than go in a glider.
Because you can't control a glider. It's just falling.
There's a level of control to it, but there's problems with, like, the Germans would put things on the ground to skewer them, cause them to flip. I think the survival rate of just the glider pilots was abysmally low. If you were in a glider that, say, had a Jeep or motorcycles or something in it and it hit the ground wrong and everything shifted, you were squished. So, yeah, I'd almost rather jump out of a plane, and I have no plans to ever do that in my life. So everything from food to motorcycles was droppable from the planes, and larger items like Jeeps, trailers, and even more were brought in by gliders. Somehow or other, this would be the foundation for airborne beavers.
Beavers, as defined by Wikipedia, are large semi-aquatic rodents of the northern hemisphere. There are two existing species, the North American beaver and the Eurasian beaver. Beavers are the second largest living rodents after capybaras, which bothers me. They can weigh up to 50 kilograms or 810 pounds. They have stout bodies with large heads, long chisel-like incisors, brown or gray fur, hand-like front feet, webbed back feet, and tails that are flat and scaly. The two species differ in skull and tail shape and fur color. Beavers can be found in a number of freshwater habitats, from rivers to streams, lakes, and ponds. They are herbivores, consuming tree bark, aquatic plants, grasses, and sedges. Beavers build dams and lodges using tree branches, vegetation, rocks, and muds. They chew down trees for building material. Dams are going to restrict water flow, and lodges serve as shelters. Their infrastructure creates wetlands used by many other species, and because of their effect on other organisms in the ecosystems, beavers are considered a keystone species. Adult males and females live in monogamous pairs with their offspring. After their first year, the young help their parents repair the dams and lodges. Older siblings often also help raise the newly born offspring.
I keep thinking, beavers and platypus, why are they not related? I'm consistently thrown by the fact that a beaver is a rodent. I don't know why I'd never thought of that before. I thought of them more on, like, Raccoon Land or something like that.
No, they're rodents. Yeah. The teeths. Ever-growing incisors.
I was a naturalist at one point. I have completely failed myself.
I'm taking over.
That's fine.
I asked this earlier of Tasha, and apparently what defines a rodent is their teeth. As Tasha said,
chumpy bits.
The incisors that keep on growing is they don't have canines.
Yep, no canines. Yep. They just got the 4 incisors in the front, and they continuously grow, which is part of why they chop on everything, is because that's what grinds them down, so that they don't, like, grow through the top and bottom of their skull, basically.
Yeah, why you have hamsters with chewy things and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, now that you know about the beavers, it's time for you to know about beaver trapping and the fur trade.
And why beavers...
people are interested in beavers.
Yes.
Yeah, why people got interested and why we suddenly had no beavers.
Yes, we messed that up big time. Many moons ago, when hats were all the style, to quote Merlin, beaver fur was in high demand. The highest quality felt came from beaver fur. It was water resistant, held nice shape, and could hold its form in wet weather. The use of beaver felt in hats began in earnest in the 1500s in Europe. Over a period of time, the European beaver stock was depleted from trapping, and a new source was found in North America. The fur trade picked up in North America in the 1600s. First, beavers were sourced from indigenous tribes, and then European trappers began collecting beaver pelts on their own.
I mean, it was easy because the beavers are just so polite.
Yeah.
Kill me now.
Maybe not in that way.
No?
No, I don't think they were that kind
They
of
kept
polite.
saying sorry.
Oh!
Have we made it across yet? No, I think we're still in European beavers. We haven't reached the...
No, we are on the other side of the pond now.
Oh, we've reached
The
Canadian
European
beavers.
trappers are in North America
Oh, yeah.
trapping the Canadian beavers.
No,
Okay,
but now all
yeah.
I can think about is, like, beavers saying sorry while getting beat by a trapper.
Wow, this just... I thought we headed to deep, dark nightmare territory with my segue comments last week, but we have taken it even further now. Why not just beat some baby seals while we're at it?
That's next week's episode. Hold off.
The baby
Thanks,
seal revolution.
Shackleton.
The baby seal revolution. No, that was penguins.
Close enough.
Baby seals, penguins. And you're picking on me for not knowing that a beaver was a rodent? Huh? Huh?
Shut up.
Where were we? Canadian beavers?
Before European involvement, the population of beavers in North America was estimated to be in like the 100 millions. The trade grew such that between 1853 and 1877, the Hudson Bay companies sent around 3 million beaver pelts to England.
That's some nice top hats there.
Nice top hats.
How many hats?
Waterproof.
Oh, that's a good question. I wonder how many hats
Like,
can
just-
you make from one beaver?
There was a statistics chart that I did find on this from
Seriously?
somebody's thesis that dug deep into this, but I had reached the point at that point where I'm like, how do I just, this is too much. This is too much of a deep dive and we don't need this. So if you really want that, I will dig around and find it.
I really want that.
Okay, well, I'll see if I can
Side
find it
note
again.
to a side note to a side note.
Find the insanely in-depth chart of hats to beaver ratio for Tasha.
Well,
Thank you.
no, that's the side note task, but just a side note was the Mad Hatter
Oh, yes, and the lead and the mercury and everything like
from
that.
processing the beaver pelts to make the hats.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I'll get on that. We can have a whole thing about that.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Not that I haven't stayed at a hotel named the Mad Hatter.
But this means all this beaver trapping and hatting. By 1900, there was an estimated 100,000 beavers remaining in North America. This is a large part of the reason why problem beavers were and are moved rather than exterminated.
Yes.
So
So,
the-
after nearly making beavers extinct, we decided, oh, wait, they're actually good for various environmental reasons, just when they're not in our way.
Yeah, as long as we don't build near them or something like that.
So then we started a hobby of moving beavers that actually continues to this day.
A hobby? I
What's
didn't know
your
it was a
hobby? I like to move beavers. That's a nice little lodge over there. I'm
Well,
going
I
to take
mean,
my
when we
weekend.
get to this fellow from the Fishing and Game here in Idaho in a moment, he's into this more so than just a job. Like, this is a career for him or a hobby. Like, he's passionate about this.
This is making his mark.
Well, they had trappers whose job were to, especially in more in depth in the articles that I read, whose job were to trap the beavers, move them to Fish and Game, and then Fish and Game would truck them, horse them, etc., to other locations where they actually wanted ponds and water
Yeah.
retention and fire
Beavers
prevention.
riding horses. It's
Yeah.
about to be a really big theme.
That
Yeah,
comes.
we'll be getting to that soon.
That comes in an article that we'll read later.
So, why move beavers? Because sometimes the beavers didn't consult the humans when they built their dams, or the humans didn't consult the beavers when they built their neighborhood next to the beaver dam. Either way, the result was your basement being flooded, or your farm being flooded, or the road being flooded, or possibly Gettysburg battlefield portions being flooded. Which apparently is a situation with a family of beavers that are migratory, itinerant. They come and go.
It seems to from
Renters?
from what I was reading, like right
It's
now.
just summer over there. Like,
Yes. I looked into this because if you go up to Gettysburg Battlefield right now and you go to Little Round Top, you will see actually, I think there may be 2 beaver lodges there at this point. That I desperately, I forget which friend suggested this, but I would desperately like to wait out and put a Canadian flag and a satellite dish on each of them. But while I was working on the deep dive for this episode, I was like, I wonder what's going on with the beavers up there. And the Park Service does have a statement on them that Plum Creek, which is the creek that runs through the valley right there, has over a long period of time had beavers move in and out. And what they said was they tend to come in, build a dam, build a lodge, and they usually are there, it looked like 2 to 3 years before they exhaust resources and move on. I've never seen beavers moving on, though, so that's my big question is, do they have these little, 1930s hobo packs that they put over their shoulder?
Bindle stick?
Yeah, does one of them have, the little Canadian flag, and one's, dragging the satellite dish along behind them in a four-wheeled tote?
God.
Right. I mean, are they just are they just summering in Greece or
just picturing them out by the side of Steinwar, thumbing it to the next location.
Gettysburg is their version of the Catskills.
We're going to Gettysburg we're going to tour Gettysburg for the next 3 years. Then we'll move on from there.
So I had more sophisticated beavers. I had them taking summer holidays in southern Europe. They were just they're in the coast of Spain.
Ours are just redneck bums.
I was giving them more credit.
Classism amongst beavers.
Yeah. So
blink.
It never ends.
But speaking of never ending, if I don't get to the next paragraph, we're never going to make it to the story we actually were intending to do.
Yes. Yeah.
So this particular story are the Airborne Beavers from Idaho. Because after World War II, many people moved to the McCall and Payette Lakes area in western Idaho. Problem was, the beavers were already there. As we said before, this had a problem. The beavers are now flooding the new basements and the new roads.
Wow, what a problem for the beavers, who were already there, living their little beaver lives.
Well, apparently they got conscripted into the Fish and Game Airborne Beaver Army, though. So,
but did they get a pension?
I do not believe that there was a beaver pension.
So, yeah, I'll check a little further down. We'll find out.
One of them got his own harem, to quote Idaho Fish and Game.
So, yeah, if we talk about the people who buy a house next to the airport and complain about the aircraft. Yeah. We've always had those kind of people.
They buy next to the historic railroad and complain about the railroad, yeah, et cetera, et cetera. So Elmo Heder of Idaho's Fish and Game was assigned a task of moving the beavers. He had a great idea of where to relocate them. A proposed new home for the beavers, Chamberlain Basin. Has no roads. Be a great spot for the beavers. It's out of the way of the people. They can build all their dams and all their beaver lodges and have their beaver harems and just stay out of the way of people. It would be great, but there's no roads, so no trucks. I know. We'll use horses and mules. This was 1948? Yeah, 1948.
Yeah. So, at the time, the idea of horses and mules and backcountry areas was still very common. Now it might be an ATV they might use, but...
Still got some areas where you definitely have mule teams operating, even down in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Just after the floods, there was
that's
quite a bit of that actually going on.
Yeah.
Except I guess Mr. Heder ran into an issue that was in his report that, quote, horses and mules become spooky and quarrelsome when loaded with a struggling, odorous pair of live beavers.
I was thinking deodorant for the beavers, but apparently that was not an option.
Okay, maybe this is being a little old-fashioned. This was the 1940s. Why were the beavers not separated? And then you just had the American Legion, all the male beavers went one way, and you had the women's auxiliary, the other beavers got on the other horses. Then they wouldn't be quarreling when they were on the horseback, and they might have been able to get there.
Oh my God, we're back in the 40s for sure now. Wow, okay.
I'm just trying to get into the 1948 mindset.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
Your housewife husband routine.
Yep. No, my God, I see it. I definitely see it.
It says here, spooky and quarrelsome.
I'm a stay-at-home law.
Struggling odorous pair of live feet. See, they were in pairs. That I think was a problem. Weirdly enough, I mean, obviously this would stress the beavers out, but loss of fur was specifically brought up, which I thought that was curious, that a loss of fur was actually a concern for a beaver that was not going to be turned into a hat.
Yeah, they addressed that in the article in a bit too, but I don't remember what the actual issue was with the loss of fur.
So,
other than it's bad for them.
At this point, Mr. Heder turned to the idea of using aircraft, which, weirdly enough, he was not the first person to think of this. As he was looking at options, and he knew about the surplus parachutes, and so his next step was how to drop the beavers. So, before we get into airdropping beavers with parachutes, and how one goes about setting up a jump training for beavers with a little miniature Fort Benning with the drop tower and everything.
That'd be cute.
Apparently, he was not the first to do this. As we mentioned before, the European beaver population had been decimated. The Swedes, ever innovating, began reintroducing beavers in the 1920s. They were moving them by ship, train, horse, cars, and horse-drawn carts. The boxes were padded with hay. This long journeys, the beavers were becoming ill. So in 1934, the Swedish moved a pair of beavers by air. I argued that those beavers had to have been named Wilbur and Orville.
Yes.
But no one else has supported me on this yet. Their journey time was cut down to 2 days, and they arrived at a new home on a seaplane. So they weren't dropped out of an airplane, but they flew on a plane.
Yeah, it was the first air movement, at least.
I feel like being a beaver in a seaplane would be pretty exciting, and a lot less terrifying than just like falling through the air.
Yeah, I would think
Yeah,
I agree.
So obviously, what's the next logical or illogical sequence here after flying in a plane? Jumping out of one. Let's airdrop beavers with parachutes. Of course, you need a way to hold the beaver. They're going to be really argumentative about trying to put them in a little harness. So the first idea was to use willow boxes or baskets.
Willow wicker.
Yeah, and extensively used during World War II, especially by the British for all kinds of airborne operations.
It's a very springy, spongy wood. And they would weave it in a way that would contract and expand to take the force, the shock of falling from the sky.
Yep.
Excellent. All the wicker I see now is now 80 years old, and it is no longer spongy and flexible.
Yes,
Correct.
definitely not bouncy.
It's terrifyingly crunchy at this point. But I imagine when it's new...
It works quite nicely.
Sort of the Tupperware of the 1940s.
I was thinking it's almost like those big Rubbermaid totes in the 1940s.
Yeah, exactly. Except made out of wicker. In fact, I think the wicker probably took a hard landing better than a Tupperware tote would.
Yeah.
Of course, I guess the problem, they tried using those with the beavers, but they would chew their way out.
I mean, you put them in a giant snack.
True.
Yeah.
You just put them in a giant,
How did the report describe would be a problem for the pilots?
Yeah, one of the reports I read, and I can't find which one, described the concern about not only the beavers getting out in the airplane, but being a problem for the pilots.
A problem for the pilots. That had to have been an English person who wrote that. That is such an understatement.
Beavers running amok in the plane. What's going on? It's a problem for the pilots.
If you put me in a box made of, Rice Krispie treat or something.
Yeah, the baskets didn't work because they were a problem for the pilots.
After further research and development, they designed a lightweight wooden box that could carry 2 beavers. And we'll actually, there are so many pictures of this box online, we'll absolutely have them up on the Instagram and such. With just the right size cords, beavers would be placed into the box, the cords lashed, and they would break free after the box was sent from the plane. The weight of the box would keep it closed on the way down, and it would open on impact. A variety of parachutes were tried. And, quote, the most satisfactory results were obtained with a 24-foot rayon parachute of war surplus stock procured from the Forest Service. The parachute could carry 140 pounds, which more than accommodated 2 beavers and their container.
Yes, but
110-pound beavers from Wikipedia must be like the extreme big boys.
Yeah, I would think so.
okay.
Header describes the
I don't
first
know what the
test
average weight
drafts as one old male beaver, whom we fondly named Geronimo, was dropped again and again on the flying field. Each time he dropped, he scrambled out of the box. Someone was on hand to pick Geronimo back up and put him back. Poor fellow. He finally became resigned, and as soon as we approached him, would crawl back into his box, ready to go aloft again. You may be sure that Geronimo had a priority reservation on the first ship into the hinterland.
Oh, wait. Breaking news?
Yes.
On the weight of beavers, because Wikipedia went with the big boys, the Eurasian beaver typically will be 24 to 66 pounds, and American beavers, slightly heavier, ranging from 24 to 71 pounds.
Okay.
That's because of McDonald's franchises.
Yeah, it probably is.
All I can figure is this is based off of the original reports from 1948.
Well, no, but now the math checks out better.
Okay, cool.
The average sizes would be 2 to 140 pounds versus 1 exceeding the weight limit of the parachute.
Which has been living off of Big Macs. Or what would the tree version of a Big Mac be? What's a balsa? I don't know.
Birch?
Birch? No. Let's get on.
One of the
We'll get on
trees,
that
maybe.
debate in a bit.
Spruce.
Back on Geronimo.
Sounds good.
No. Yeah.
They gave Geronimo the first trip, and to quote the Fish and Game, they gave Geronimo the first trip into the new area with a harem of 3 young female beavers. When they were dropped, the 3 females climbed out of their boxes and headed off, and Geronimo apparently remained in his box for a while, as if resigned to being taken aloft again. So I could just picture the other beavers wandering off, going, "Hey, this is great." And Geronimo sitting there going, "I'm not leaving.
Oh.
They're going to put me back in my box again."
He's doing the bowl of petunias thing.
What's that?
The bowl of petunias.
Yeah. Oh no, not again.
Yes.
When checked on later, this Geronimo's colony was reported as well established. In 1948, 76 beavers were airdropped with only 1 casualty. And Matt has a name for the casualty.
Well, yes.
1 beaver forced its way out of its box on the way down and sat on top of the box, riding it until he came within 75 feet of the ground. It's unclear if he jumped or slipped off. Observations in 1949 showed that all of the transplants were successful.
All except for Slim Pickens.
Yeah,
we
we're
play
just
taps for him.
we don't have taps.
John,
so.
please insert taps at this point. Thank you, John.
Slim Pickens, we got the idea of Slim Pickens because we're just picturing him just riding the bomb down.
Dr. Strange loving this.
Dr. Strangelove.
His box on the way down. He'd shoot out of that box really fast because weren't they only being dropped from like a couple hundred feet?
Well, what happened with that one was the straps broke on it. So that one had a shock issue with the straps, and then he was sort of forced his way up through.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, man, he escaped
now
fast.
they were all dropped in pairs, which means that there was another beaver sitting inside the box, going, "You idiot! What are you doing?"
I didn't even think about it.
His wife was yelling at him the whole time.
Yeah, get back in here! Oh my God! If we go back to the quarrels we were just talking about a few minutes ago,
Harry, get in here!
There may be a reason why Slim was on top of the box. He's just like, no. This is it. I'm done. I'm riding this. I'm off. Bye.
I'm only letting this slide because it is 1940s.
It's 1940s, and we're just in that mindset. And speaking of 1940s mindset, one of the most wonderful things I found researching for this was this great tongue-in-cheek article from August of 1948. It's the Berkshire County Eagle in Massachusetts, and it's an article on the Airborne Beavers. Airborne Beavers as conservation agents. According to a dispatch from McCall, Idaho, the Idaho Fish and Game Department is trying a revolutionary new technique in its conservation efforts. It is dropping beavers by parachute into the vast and inaccessible wilderness of western Idaho in the expectation that the beavers will expand the small spring-fed lakes with their dams and thus conserve the water resources of that region. As there are no roads, truck transportation is impossible, and the report reports transportation by horseback tended to ruin the beaver's fur, hence the paratroop method. The briefness of the report implies various omissions and raises a number of questions. First, why is injury to the fur of the beavers important when they're desired solely for their qualities as hydraulic engineers? Or is it feared that rubbing off their naps would cause them to catch cold? Second, how much time is required to teach a beaver to ride a horse? And is the loss of the fur due to falls during the course or to friction against the saddle? If it is the latter, the location of the hirsute erosion is indicated unmistakably. One is only led to wonder if the matter could not have been solved by providing the beavers with riding pants.
Beavers in pants!
We confess skepticism as to the chances of the experiment. Paratroopers were specially picked, a lot of individuals selected after exhausted tests, after they had volunteered for the service. It is true that they were to begin with eager beavers, but we have seen no evidence that the members of the present outfit have shown any eagerness, even though they are unquestionably beavers. Have they been subject to preparatory course and indoctrination and combat training? Do they know what to do if they encounter a squad of muskrats or if the brook runs dry? How can the game department be sure that the shock of being thrown from an airplane will not bring on a nervous condition that will prevent the beavers from damming anything except for the miscreants who hove them into the welkin at a height of 200 feet from the ground to start with? Perhaps these objections are carping and have no validity. The Idaho experimenters may be basing their actions on the premise that beavers thrown into the wilderness hundreds of miles from any restaurant must follow the standard beaver procedures or else. A relatively short time should show whether beavers can be counted on to cooperate in conservation measures or whether they confine their TVA activities to regions where their efforts flood somebody's basement. If the experiment does succeed, we can think of only one improvement for the future. It is the creation of a hybrid animal developed from the beaver and the flying squirrel, which would need no parachute.
What an article.
And yes, that is a original commentary from 1948 on the amazing beaver drop. To conclude, surprisingly, this is the only time we can find that this method was definitely used. I mean, it worked. It worked well. It was considered in Fresno, California in July of 1951 when some Idaho beavers were being moved to improve the wetlands. I guess Idaho's potato land, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's forest up there.
Yeah.
There's some marshy area, I believe.
I'm just thinking they went from exporting potatoes to exporting beavers, apparently. The Fowler Ensign, a California newspaper, reported that parachute drops would be perfect and much quicker, but planes were not available. Interestingly, also in July of 1951, there were newspaper reports of plans to transfer beavers from lower altitudes in Colorado and parachute them into higher altitude locations in the state. Not a huge coincidence just on the fact that they were both July, because according to what I read in the Fish and Game reports, July and August are the best time to move beavers so that they have time to set up a whole new world. Oh,
Beaver
God.
moving season.
Now the song's in my head. Beaver moving season before winter sets in.
Beaver moving season sales beginning in late June.
And now I'm just getting this picture.
Discounts on wicker baskets.
Wicker baskets and parachutes, all the rage. Come down to Ollie's.
What a fascinating, just little tidbit of history.
And of some of the completely insane things that we've started digging into or are looking into digging into, this one actually worked.
Look, it worked. It wasn't too dark, except where we took it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. I found a map of the ecoregions of Idaho, and we have areas of Pacific bunchgrass and coniferous forests, which
Yes.
I can definitely see being beaver hotspots.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't
So
questioning I wasn't questioning the fact that Idaho has the correct land for for beavers. I was just literally asking, am I correct in the fact that Idaho is Spud's land as well?
I just
and that's
needed a visual as to what area of Idaho the beavers were coming from.
Oh, okay.
This was for my brain.
I see. All right. So, as usual, we want to thank everybody for listening, whether it was morning, day, evening, whether you're on the recumbent bicycle at the gym or driving your car to work.
Or parachuting over Idaho.
Or parachuting over Idaho with your earbuds in. We want to give a shout out to our current paying subscribers. That would be
We have the McDowells and the Donahues.
Yes, so many thanks to them. If you would like to sponsor the show, we have many subscribers, but you can also on Substack. There's a couple different ways that you can subscribe and send a wee bit of money in, which would go towards more new equipment, cups of coffee.
Say donations
tea.
in kind are acceptable. Coffee, tea, non-squeaky chairs.
Yes, non-squeaky chairs would be a great one. Any of those
More blankets.
Yeah, warm blankets, any of those sorts of things. We do freeze for you people.
It's cold down here.
If we run the heater, you don't hear the show as well. Does anybody else have anything to throw in before we throw in the towel on this evening?
I don't think I have anything else. I think we've given the listeners enough to chew on for this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially, we recommend for chewing on, going out and getting yourself some nice willow. And to finish off with, should anybody have...
But it has painkiller in it.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It has a natural asprin.
Yeah. Oh, I
Okay.
can't remember the compounds
We
called.
are way too ADHD to focus for more than 5 seconds. So we're
I'm
going to stop
autistic.
this. We're going to stop this before it goes too much further. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have stories that you want to share, please email them in to merlinsbarn@gmail.com, or you can drop a note to our Instagram, or you can find us on our Facebook page or join our Facebook group. What is that? The Barn Owls?
It's the Barn Owls Roost.
Yeah, the Barn Owls Roost. Also, we are really happily accepting ideas for episodes. So if there's something you would like us to deep dive on, please drop us a note. We have people finally dropping us notes and ideas, and the more of those, the better, because it's going to be your contributions, your ideas, your stories that keep this going indefinitely. So thank you so much for listening. Squeak.
We're testing?
Yeah, we're testing. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Coming to you pre-recorded live, or live pre-recorded, or one of those? I don't know.
At some point, we were live.
Once upon a time.
Did you find your Build-A-Bear thing?
Yes, I did. I haven't listened to the song that goes with it yet, though.
There's a song.
Oh, there's a song.
I have concerns.
Oh, it's glorious.
Okay, so...
Today's Build-A-Bear April Fool's post is the emo axolotl. But it goes further.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Why can't it just be real?
Oh, it is.
Okay.
They did make it.
Okay.
But they also made him a MySpace page.
Emo Axolotl, 16 years old, St. Louis, Missouri, United States. Online now. It's not just a phase. I have a lot of feelings. Oh, God.
But do you see
All right.
the About Me area?
I'm going to go to the Do Not Disturb on my phone.
What's on the About Me area?
Catch me editing my bare space or mixing some tunes. Check out my EP, Not a Phase, on Fluff Cloud. Don't forget your digital camera to snap pics of this limited edition friend. And then there's the Who I'd Like to Meet section. Berard Way from My Cuddly Friendship.
Oh, my God.
It's the Build-A-Bear version of My Chemical Romance.
That's
Wow.
And then there's a
Okay,
song.
the MySpace reminds me of the retroness. So,
all right. This is how we get sued.
they're just testing. This is not
What?
this is not broadcast.
Oh, I keep having them tacked on at the end of episodes at this point.
Oh, they haven't made it onto an episode
Oh
yet.
my god.
John just keeps
that-
deleting them on us.
That means he's saving them.
I'm sorry.
What were you trying to say?
The movie Fargo.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Ignore everything else about the movie.
Except for...
Came out in 1996. Set in 1996.
Just realized I can't sit in this chair.
And it is set in... The interior scenes, when they do occur, are either like in cabins, cheap motels, or
suburban house.
Suburban middle-class America.
Yeah.
That is a period piece now.
Oh my God.
I didn't even think about it, but the last time I watched it, just all of the, what is it, an Oldsmobile dealership or something like that? Or Buicks?
Yep,
or
yeah. Because the Sierra was a focus of it, the Cutlass Sierra.
Yeah, which is what my grandparents drove. And so I'm watching it going, oh my God, I want that Sierra because my grandparents had that. So, no, you're right. It is a completely period piece.
The interior scenes, the amount of golden oak in that house. Yeah. So, like, because, a lot of movies, the settings can be very high-end. If there's interior scenes, it can be very high-end homes.
Yeah.
Which could have interiors that could still look good now and not be dated.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
You could have a 1970s...
But they just used
1970s James Bond movie, and in the houses, the interiors look incredible.
Yeah, because it's the high end from that era, which doesn't age. It just becomes this beautiful piece of art. Whereas 1980s or 1990s mid America is, well, I guess there's a reason why they're renovating their kitchens every 10 years.
Yeah.
Versus our kitchen, which has not been renovated since 1980.
We got a new fridge.
We got a new fridge. The fridge is awesome.
Klaus is in mourning.
I just stare into it.
Off topic, I showed Merlin before.
That's going to piss off anyone who has a Punisher look. Oh my God.
I love it.
I need that.
I love it just for pissing off the people with the Punisher logo who think that they're so cool.
Because if you actually know Punisher at all, that's more appropriate.
All right, you know what? This is going to bleed over into the conversation we'd like to have at the start of the episode. So,
okay, is it time to actually
but I wanted to share my thing with Matt.
Oh no, wait,
What?
pause.
I wanted to share my thing with Matt.
on this episode, on this recording, or on the actual episode?
You need to pause and test the recording to make sure. That's the point of this, is to make sure no one sounds like way.
This is.
blown
I
or
was just want to tell him about the interview.
Oh, well, that. Yeah, we can turn this off.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I just wanted.
I want to hear about it.
Yes. Yeah.
I had